In this deep dive, we're going to focus on the rise of megacities in Africa, like Cairo, Lagos, Nairobi, and Kinshasa. Why have these cities grown so big so fast? And does their growth ultimately reflect the promise of the continent as a whole? Since antiquity, the largest city in an area, the primate city, has been a tangible expression of the rise and fall of civilizations and the waxing and waning of empire. In 150 AD, the height of the Roman Empire, the city of Rome's population was roughly 1 million, almost certainly the largest city in the world at the time. Then a lot of things went wrong. By 1000 AD, about 6 centuries after the collapse of the Western Empire, Rome's population was that of a small town, 30,000. From roughly 500 AD to 1800 AD, the largest city in China at any given time was the largest in the world. In 1510, when Michelangelo was painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Rome's population was 60,000. It's grown ever since. Today, Rome has roughly 4 million inhabitants. In the broad brushstrokes of the portrait of history, the population of a country's primate city may be a blip in the background, but to the keen eye, it's central. So let's zoom in on a small portion of our canvas: primate cities in Africa since 1950. In 1950, the populations of Cairo, Egypt, and Lagos, Nigeria were 2.5 million and 325,000 respectively. Kinshasa in the DRC had 800,000 inhabitants. Pretty big, but nothing astonishing. Today, the population of Cairo is 22.2 million, and that of Lagos and Kinshasa is 16 million. These are the African megacities, cities with more than 10 million people. By rate of growth, no large city in Europe or America comes close, and only a handful are of a similar size. These cities have grown in line with Africa's ever-accelerating modernization, and they'll continue to. By 2050, Cairo is expected to have an eye-watering 33 million people, and Lagos close behind with 28 million. The rapid expansion of these cities reflects the promise of the continent. But at the same time, they also encapsulate, in a nutshell, some of the problems of rapid economic development across time and space. Let's start with why African megacities are growing and the benefits of this before we move on to some of the challenges. The growth of African megacities' population over the past few decades is due firstly to a rapidly increasing population and secondly to the push and pull factors that attract rural inhabitants through migration. The population in African cities is growing partly because of the natural increase of the population. Africa is in the midst of a general population explosion. Infant mortality is falling and life expectancies are increasing, but women are still having 4 to 7 children on average. We'll talk more about this in a follow-up video. Secondly, we have these push and pull factors applied to urbanization in all of the global south, but they're especially pronounced in African megacities. The economies of most African countries have grown significantly since 1960. But that economic growth is concentrated in urban areas. Many people from rural areas are moving to cities in search of the better economic opportunities that come with modernization and economic growth found in cities. There are unicorn tech startups in Lagos, not in rural villages. But at a more general level that applies to 99.9% of rural to urban migrants, there are also factories, shipping companies, and accounting firms. There are also jobs in the informal sector: taxi driving, street hawking, and cleaning. People with some secondary education can become office clerks and get their children on the path to the rapidly growing middle class. Ambitious people with no formal education can earn higher wages in the informal sector and hopefully secure their child in a place at a better school. The improved healthcare facilities and services available in Africa are disproportionately in urban areas. Moreover, rural areas tend to be more dangerous, as the state doesn't have the capacity to patrol large areas. In rural areas, rates of organized violence by non-state actors are much higher than in the city. Rural education throughout Africa is plagued by low funding and teacher absenteeism. The average level of urban education is better, and parents will move to cities to provide better opportunities to their children. There are lots of benefits that come from moving to the city, and this is shown by the extraordinarily rapid increase in the population size of cities like Cairo, Kinshasa, and Lagos. But just because opportunities are better in the long run, particularly for the children of the rural economic migrants, there are also some highly visible problems. Smoggy skies and inadequate housing in dilapidated and unsanitary slums viewed from a handful of luxury skyscrapers is the most obvious. Rapid city growth often leads to inadequate housing and pollution because of the following reasons. High demand for housing. People are moving to cities faster than dwellings can be built. This is a problem many large cities in the world face. Poor planning due to a lack of government attention and capacity. Inadequate urban planning leads to the development of informal settlements where scrap materials are fashioned into shelters. Moreover, due to a lack of regulation on vehicles and inadequate public transport, pollution in megacities is dangerously high, with consequences for physical and mental health. Recent history offers a comparable example. When Britain industrialized, workers lived in the infamous slums of London and elsewhere. If you've ever read a Charles Dickens novel, you get the idea. If you haven't, it's not a pretty picture. In many measurable and visual metrics, the better-off countries of sub-Saharan Africa are in a similar economic and demographic state to 19th century Britain. Birth rates are similar, as are housing conditions in the large cities. The pace of modernization in many African countries over the past 5 decades has been broadly similar to that of Britain during industrialization. Britain grew fast and became rich, but in the midst of all that were some very bleak scenes, and indeed, they're repeating themselves in a different place and at a different time. Yet despite the obvious issues with these slums, people are still moving to them. People vote with their feet, in this case with a Dickensian spark of hope that they might escape the tyranny of a poverty of income, education, healthcare, and safety. And there are reasons to be optimistic. For one, today we know how to alleviate these issues. We have the people and the policies to make it happen. The Victorians had to invent or discover solutions. African policymakers need only implement them. The rate of growth of the African megacity shows no sign of abating. The demographic explosion will continue, as should economic progress. At present, there are 3 megacities in Africa, 2 of which are in comparatively wealthy countries. By 2050, there will likely be many more, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania and Mombasa and Nairobi in Kenya, to name a few. The challenges will be the same, but so will the opportunities for economic advancement in the long run. By 2100, these cities could very well be globally important drivers of growth and innovation, much like the megacities of India and China today. That's all for today. Join us next time as we dive deeper into the economies of these megacities and their economic outlook for the coming century.